All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Not So Wide Divide. We are here with Coty and myself this morning.
Good morning.
Tori had some other scheduling conflicts that couldn't be here, work calls, because, again, this is freebie. So we, again, excuse him, wish he was here, but unfortunately, he's not with us this morning. So Coty and I are going to do something a little differently. We're going to do something that talk about some topics that kind of off the wall from our normal conversations, but things that are still kind of relevant in kind of today's, I guess, culture. You know, something that's talked about and what we should do with it, and that's space and where we're at with it. You know, space is not just the moon anymore. You know, we're talking about Mars. We're talking about the UFOs, and I know a lot of for forever and a day it was this controversial taboo. You don't talk about only the crazy people, right. Roswell,
tinfoil hats.
Yeah, but recently in the last 2 years, you've had 4 Pentagon releases that have said, we don't know what the hell this is.
A lot of retired higher-ups coming out. And
like real higher-ups.
Yeah.
Like real higher-ups, And it's something that...
But you know how the meme goes, only in 2020 can they confirm UFOs, and it gets passed over, bro.
Nobody talks about it. It hit some news. It hit a couple, I mean on Reddit and on your, I guess, not off the wall, but off the cuff, kind of your
right. People that are looking specifically.
Yeah, people that are looking at the different topics. It was there, and you can read a lot of the articles and the videos, and some of these Navy pilots, Air Force pilots were interviewed, and I don't know if you had a chance. Have you listened to any of those?
I watched a History Channel series. I don't remember what it's called, but it was one of those higher up guys that did it for the Pentagon. There's a lot of stuff you can't talk about because I guess gag orders or whatever, like you can't legally speak on it. But he knew where to go to get, and he talked to a lot of Navy pilots. He talked to a lot of like radar operators who were on the ships and stuff at the time that these UFOs were interacting with the jets. And it was him, a guy that worked for, I think, Lockheed Martin, like 2 or 3 other like really like credible infield people, and it was really interesting, man. Like just, and I don't know if they're from outer space or if they're projects that are being worked on by the military, but it was pretty interesting just to see that come to light. And like you said, it's not, nobody's calling this guy a kook or saying he's crazy. Like he actually got in and talked to some senators and put together a lot of legislative things that enabled us to actually get to the point where we're at now, where these things are being released.
So what's your take?
I don't know, man. I'm kind of torn. Like I would almost like it to be, extraterrestrial, but still kind of, I guess, don't want it to be, at the same time, because it brings into a lot of like religions questions and those kind of things that I don't think I want to face, man. But I think realistically it's probably military grade testing that's going on. I know a lot of times these companies, like Skunkworks for instance, they'll have things that are the technology that they have is like 5, 6, 7 steps ahead of what we have on the market now, or even what the military has, and the military is way up ahead of us, in the civilian world. But these people are developing things for the next generation, and they don't always clue in. If they're doing a test on a fleet out in the Pacific, they're not telling these people that they're doing these tests. So I mean, I really think that's what it is. What a lot of these things are. I think just nowadays we have higher capabilities of tracking things, and the military's technology is higher, that they're actually picking these items up, and I think that's all it is they're testing it.
So do you know the Joe Rogan had one of the the pilot's on. That one of the first ones that recorded.
You mean our rival podcaster?
Yeah.
You know, the one that we're like right there with.
Yeah. Maybe one day after he retires for 40 years ago. But,
Right.
They named it. It was like the blip UFO. I'm trying to Google it to see if
Was
I
it the Tic Tac one?
That's it, the Tic Tac one.
Yeah.
Have you seen that? And
Yeah,
you heard his?
Yes, like and you could Google the History Channel series that they had. That was one of the first ones they covered. Like they actually talked to two of the pilots that were flying against these Tic Tac. I keep wanting to say TikTok.
Yeah.
The Tic Tac shaped.
Well, what's your take on that? As far as you have people like you said that are high military grade. These people have been doing it, and even had a scientist that videoed that looked at the video and said that the energy method that this particular flying object displayed cannot be explained by science.
Known science.
Right.
So, just, ladies and gentlemen, put y'all tinfoil hats on for a little bit.
Exactly.
And come down this rabbit hole with us. If you're able, if we have these top minds at a place like Lockheed Martin or Skunk Works or any one of these experimental type companies, if they were able to crack gravitational drives, right? Whether it's with magnets or whatever, I'm not a freaking scientist, bro. So whatever kind of drive the next generation drive is, if they were able to crack that, then that explains the capabilities of these Tic Tac shaped. I gotta say it slow because I'm like TikTok,
yeah.
like the thing. But that explains the capabilities of these unknown aircraft. But science hasn't cracked that yet. So to these scientists who are operating within the realm of what we know now, of course it's unexplained to them. Imagine taking like the drones that we have today and bringing it back, during World War II, and that thing flying over a battlefield. These scientists would be like, "What the hell?"
40 years or 50 years of science.
But think of the advancements that we've had just in our lifetime, man.
Well, I get it, but what I'm saying
and
is
they're way
that
past what we have out on the market, bro.
What I would be willing to argue is that a scientist today that are on each side of that, like these people are creating these things and the other guys don't, but as soon as they see it, feel it, they can at least try to understand it and say, well, this is probably how they could be doing it.
Right.
These guys are going, ain't no freaking way. You have like some of your top scientists, public scientists in the world that can explain, the manipulation of two black holes and how it operates, but are looking at this and going, like you said, known science today.
Right.
And even known science fabricating known science and destructing it and trying to rebuild it, that is something that is still...
Well, they say that we operate in like a third dimensional space, right? And they can somewhat explain fourth dimensional areas, but they say that our minds, because of how we operate and the things that we know, can't even fathom fifth dimensional space. Like it's hard for them to even explain it. It's one of those things that they know could be out there, but they can't even come close to explaining it because our minds can't even go there.
Yep.
So who knows, man? Who knows?
So yeah, it's pretty. I don't even know. Again, because I'm not smart enough to even begin to explain.
I think our brains together aren't even.
But I look at these, these explanations, and I'm just floored. I'm like, how can the people that sit here and say that, it's not possible to have anything outside of this universe,
See,
this planet.
I think statistically, it's impossible for it not to be.
That's my whole stance.
With the ever expanding universe and the infinite amount of planets out there, I think it's naive to think that we're the only living species in the entire universe. There's got to be something else out there. Now they may not look like us, the sky's the limit on what these extraterrestrials could look like, but it'd be weird if they did look like us. Like that'd be right.
That would
right.
That would be very, very.
But I mean, who knows, man? You know.
So where
if
you
there
at?
is aliens that like them to come down and say hello, bro, they can come to South Louisiana. We're pretty friendly.
But if they're anything,
If we don't try to eat them.
But if they're anything like the human species, of course,
Right.
if you look at it in, there's two ways of looking at the whole extraterrestrial thing. Either they used to be us and they've evolved and they've left other
Right.
planets, right? Like that's one argument. And if they are, then by those standards, they're conquerors, right? So if they've left this planet however long ago and now it's back in a place where they may visit or however space
Right.
travel happens, we could get our ass kicked because we are definitely we don't even know what they are. So how do you
Right.
how do you fight it if
Right.
that's a
But I think, I mean, and who knows, man, but you would think that once you get to a certain level, because we look at things on the human side of it, and if we had those type of capabilities and we were going to other planets, and who knows, man, we might be we are a conquering species, but you would think that at some point you would get beyond that, where you would just kind of be exploring. Now you would want to probe and make sure that these people aren't a danger to you if you're going down there to try to make contact.
maybe that's what they've been doing for the last 40 years.
They may have been, maybe testing us and watching us, But you would think just look at us here. Like that, we are a warring society, I guess, for lack of a better term, but we're also a caring and humanitarian, giving and curious society as well. And I think if we ever got to a point where we can go to other planets, and our technology is to the level of these tic tac shaped things, if there's a person or a being inside of there, I would think that us as a species would be more of if we saw a planet that was a little bit behind, how can we help? But you gotta send probes down to make sure that your ambassadors aren't in danger. You gotta have a military just in case the people you're trying to contact has one. So I mean, I could see both sides of it, but I mean, hey man, I would like to meet an alien. Yeah, they're pretty cool.
Look, you probably have at some point, like you said, whether they look like us or whether they're a microbe or whether they're the freaking coronavirus, like.
Well, they're the coronavirus.
But you know what I'm saying? Like I'm just saying, in a
Right.
viral microscopic,
Right.
it's still a living organism. The whole, and I'll kind of go to the Mars situation. Like, what's your feeling on that?
As far as
Just where we're at now, like as far that
That's a waste of time.
they are considering, colonizing it and explore. Because again, we're exploring. So
right, but I think I'd feel better if they practiced on the moon. Where they can actually get these people back. Like, because if you can colonize the moon, you can colonize Mars, right? But I don't think there's a big need for that right now.
well, the moon doesn't have any gravity.
No, I get that, but what I'm saying is, take the gravity side out of it, because we have things that are unable to even. It has some gravity. It's like half the gravity of the Earth, or a fourth of it.
Yeah, but I mean, we know that so over time there's no way you can live on the moon because the such little gravity that it deteriorates your DNA.
Right, but that's why like astronauts that spend like a year or so in a space station, they'd use resistance bands and stuff like that to work out, because your muscles will start to deteriorate because you're not using
Well,
them
the
anymore.
DNA physically changes.
Right, and I'm not talking about colonizing the moon for like living there for 30 years. I'm more talking about if you can do a smaller, even if you got to rotate out every month, 2 months, whatever. If you can prove that you can sustain, like living there, if you wanted to, take the gravity side out of it, that you can sustain life on the moon, then maybe start thinking about Mars. But we send some astronauts to Mars, that's a one-way trip. But they're
absolutely.
not coming back. Whether they make it there or not. I think, I don't mind a private business, working with the government and using some of their funds to do that. I just think that with what we have going on here, some of that money might be better spent here versus trying to colonize a planet that we really don't have a need to colonize in the first place, other than our explorer tendencies.
So where are you at on NASA and just in?
There's a need for a space program. right? And not just GPS satellites and cell phone usage and those type of things that we use every day. If Russia or China is the only country in space, then there's nothing to stop them from developing weapons that can be used from space, right? I think it's naive to think that, because there's that like space peace treaty or whatever that we have, but I mean it's only worth
it's worth the paper it's written on.
Right. And if China, Russia, XYZ country who's not very friendly with us is the only country that has space exploration and we don't have the capability to get in there, it's too tempting not to put weapons, and those are almost unstoppable weapons. I mean, you drop I think they said like a tungsten rod the size of a telephone pole, it'll have the impact of like several nuclear weapons, minus the radiation. So you have to have a presence there, so I understand that. I just don't think we should be trying to colonize Mars when, we got homeless people and stuff here in the United States. That's just my view on it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you on the well, that's you and me. The fact that we need to be there, we need to have some presence. I'm 100% okay with Elon Musk and Bezos and them spending their billions and billions and doing whatever the hell they want with it, even if they do it through NASA, like a lot of these projects have been. It's kind of been a joint venture that you have, these brainchild billionaires going with the government and saying, hey, look, like, we want to do this because, I mean, man, for the last 30 years, the government has really done very little in the whole space industry, that wasn't helped by private, and I'm good with that.
Yeah, I am too. Right.
I'm good with them giving a little money. I'm good with them because you do have to have a plan B. Everywhere in life. I mean, something happens.
Right, but that's what I'm getting at with. I don't mind them going. It's got to be cheaper to go to the moon. I would think.
Yeah, I would think as well. I mean, but on this, it's like one of them things. Like I was going to use a Disney World analogy, but it's the wrong analogy to use to you. If you've been to one place and it's like, yeah, I've been to it, what's the point of going back when it's too close to be a drop-off spot, right? To have continued, to do continued explorations for it to be a point of, return, and but it's too close.
But if your end goal is Mars, and you set the moon as our trial runs, I think the incentive's still there.
So you believe we've been to the moon?
Yes, yeah, I do.
I mean, there's a
I know, and look, I've seen them all, and look, they make a hell of an argument, especially when they get your conspiracy juices flowing.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think we've been to the moon. It'd be cool if we can look at that flag they planted up there, like from Earth. Maybe they should have brought a bigger one. Just to
good point.
To help prove it, but
it's where you can still even today kind
of look
hit
up
that telescope and be like, look at us.
Look at us, right? Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
But we've never been to the dark side of the moon.
Right.
No telling what's there.
The Transformers. You see the movie? But they, I think we've been to the moon, and like I said, I don't have a problem if Elon Musk and them want to set up an Amazon station on the moon for rocket delivery, but I think if Mars is the end goal, that incentive's there, as long as they stay focused on where they're going.
But as far as you got to start this exploration at some point. You have to have that. As a living thing, everything has an endpoint. This Earth will cease to exist, cease to be able to sustain life at some point, right?
Maybe.
And there's no maybe about it. I'm not saying it's not going to happen in a million years, but at some point, unless to bring you another movie reference, unless Thanos comes and snaps his fingers and wipes out half the population, we continue to grow. We run out of things. Human nature, we destroy things that
I don't necessarily know if that. I mean, if you look at the patterns of birth rates, we don't birth as many babies as we used to as a society.
Not the United States,
Right?
But India and China and Japan.
But it's the same. But those countries are still losing people too. Like it's
not
it's the
to the
same.
rate that they're birthing them though.
But we're also not even close to having a shortage of space. Like, look at the amount of people just in New York City.
I get that.
You know?
And look at the people not in Montana.
Right.
Or Canada.
Right. Like there's a
that.
lot of
but
space.
A lot of places are uninhabitable, if you will, right? Like
you can't go put a city in the Arctic, you know.
Exactly.
Right. Unless global warming is a thing, then hey,
so,
bright side.
Well, I mean, global warming again. I mean, it's that's just another topic. I don't want to get down that rabbit hole. But I mean, you look at it, I mean, there's no doubt we live in Louisiana. You say they run out of space. We're running out of space for two reasons. Number one, because we lose land
Erosion,
every day.
right, yeah.
You know, and it's not just in Louisiana. I mean, if you look at Google just put out, the last couple of weeks ago, have you seen that?
Mm-mm.
So Google put out, of course, Google has all these, Google Maps, Google Images, all these satellites out there. And they it took like 5 billion human hours, some crazy shit like that. And they put together a composite of the Earth in the last 25 years, I think it was, since they've had these satellites up there.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It is the craziest image that you see land loss, you see overproduction, you see deforestation.
Right.
Like, because they just kind of globe it, and they show the time lapse of certain areas, like Dubai. Dubai 30 years ago to Dubai today.
Well, it's probably incredible. Right.
I mean, it was like the Sahara Desert. It was just a blanket of sand.
Right.
And now I don't know if it's for better or worse, right? But they've developed it, but there's lakes and shit where lakes never were.
Yep.
They physically made so many things. And it's like, I mean, that's, it's not something that just, every action has a reaction, So it's like,
I think in that situation, it's still a lot of desert, bro. Like,
yeah, but I mean, there's a reason that each climate and each zone is what it is. It serves
I don't think
its
Dubai's
purpose.
changing the desert climate. I mean, you put enough Dubai's, maybe, but I mean, I don't know. I can see the argument with changing like the rainforest and those kind of things, but a desert. I mean, it's less sand.
It's not just sand, though. When you talk to climatologists about deserts are just as important as rainforests. It does.
Maybe.
I mean, it creates humidities. It creates dry air that pushes over rainforests. That creates new densities that makes it rain, and those rainfall. I mean, our climate is a global climate. It's not a.
I mean, I get that, but
there's a reason that we have Sahara sandstorms in South Louisiana. You know?
I understand that. I think one Dubai ain't killing the desert. No, I'm not saying not as big of an impact as if they built a Dubai in the middle of the rainforest.
Well, that's what's happening to the rainforest. That they are.
But I mean that's a whole different.
Correct.
Yeah.
But get back on the Mars and space travel. I'm 100% okay with the direction it's going at this point. I think we're spending a lot of money, taxpayers' money on it, but I don't think it's anything outside of what's been happening or what's been budgeted for in the 70s and 80s and stuff like when we were going to them. It is more money-wise. I just talk about percentage of GDP.
Well, I think the most important thing, which they should build on Mars first, is a wall. We build a wall around.
See, for you, I would think it's either going to be a wall or a Buc-ee's.
Both. A wall and Buc-ee's.
Stupid. See, I got to work with over here. Good God. We shouldn't both drink coffee at the same time.
Probably not.
But
it's good.
It is. But I think it's interesting, especially when they're talking about the private flights. I mean, if you had a spare $100,000, like if $100,000 wasn't, because I mean, you spend $3 on a coffee, right? You spend.
I made that in my house.
You spend still water, coffee grounds, coffee filters. You still spend
free. Right.
You still spend money on something.
Yeah, we spend more on coffee than we do on gas.
You spend thousands of dollars to go to Disney, right?
Yeah.
And if they said, if that same thousands of dollars equated for you as $100,000, and they said you can go to space, would you go?
I don't know. We talking 90% safe rate? I mean, what are we?
I mean, because again,
safer than airplanes now.
it'd be as safe as an airplane.
Probably. I would probably go, like, if my kids were like, just to have that experience with my children and making those once in a lifetime memory up, I would probably go. I'd probably go. Take the fam to.
Take the fam to the moon.
Yeah, I don't think I'd stay a week. Like get up there, take a selfie, come on back down. I don't know if I'd pay $100,000, but if, like you said, if
it was just the same.
right,
like
if I was filthy rich and $100,000 was like.
Like you're going to
me now.
It'd be like going on vacation, like the same thing.
Like going to Biloxi or something, right? Yeah, of course. Why wouldn't I? Especially if they had a Buc-ee's up there.
Yeah, and a wall. Put a wall right through the space jet. So where are you at with Elon Musk? I don't know if you know Elon's position on the whole alien thing.
Mm-mm.
He's not the biggest believer in extraterrestrials.
Right.
He's like, I'm not saying they don't exist, but if they did, I believe we'd have found them by now.
I think no, man. Like I'm right there with them. I think that's kind of what I was saying earlier. But if our governments found them first, a little bit of footage of an object that.
Why so they not released anything on Roswell?
I don't know.
That's what like you're.
I was secretly hoping that people would have raided the place, and they didn't get shot, and
they would have get shot.
They got blown up, right?
They would have got shot.
Then I met some aliens, all right,
dude. Exactly. Yeah, that's my thing. Like, when things aren't a big deal, you don't make them a big deal. And if you're not hiding something, you're not.
But I'm not saying that Roswell's not hiding things. They're obviously, it's a top secret military installation. I don't know if they're hiding alien bodies in a crashed ship from the 1950s, but it's not. It would be naive to think that they're not hiding the next generation spacecraft or aircraft or weaponry or something.
Technology,
right,
that they've maybe uncovered from a 1950s spacecraft.
They say.
That's
the rumor.
Yeah.
But it would. I'd like to see it.
That's what I don't understand. Like, what's the secret?
I don't know.
Like, if you got it, flown it.
Yeah. I think once if. And we'll go down this rabbit hole. If there's a crashed spacecraft in Roswell, Area 51 has it, down in the basement. They've been working on it from the 1950s. I think once it gets to a point where they've taken all the technology out of it that they can get out of it, then maybe we find out.
But what if it's like the Transformers and they have the cube down there and it's
again.
That's what makes those movies so damn good.
Right.
It's because they're almost believable.
Right.
It's like, wait,
that's
Hoover Dam wasn't created for the reason I thought it was?
Well, what was that movie? The Da Vinci Code.
Oh,
when you have a movie that can tie in actual historical events into their conspiracy type thing, it makes for a great movie. Yep. The little cheesy movie, National Treasure. I love that movie.
Oh, that thing is too of, absolutely, because it makes you really think. Like, it's not far fetched. It takes that fiction movie and go, this is a documentary. This is something we don't know about.
Like you want to go search for treasure yourself.
Yeah, because look, it just happened. I was talking, because I get kind of in these rabbit holes of history and things that are off the wall, and there was another lost city in Egypt just uncovered a couple weeks ago.
Well, look at Troy.
And it's like, what the hell? Like,
for how many years people thought that the Battle of Troy was a work of fiction, right? Like it was made up. It was just a thing. They found it. It was like 10 years ago, I think they actually found. So it wasn't. Yeah, I'm sure some of the stories were embellished. But to actually find that it was an actual historical place, after decades and decades of it being just thought to be completely fictional. So we find stuff like that all the time, man.
Do you tie in the alien things with the ancient?
Oh, the ancient alien. I love that show, bro. I really do. A lot of it, I feel like I should be having my
Yes,
my tinfoil hat
this whole
sitting there.
episode's like that.
Right. But man, it's so, because they make a good argument for a lot of, now some of the stuff's just
You know
it's
the
a little
guy
too
that always got
far
his
from-
hair all crazy out?
guy, yeah.
I listened to some of his things he said. I'm like, man, that's really, like, that makes me want to go abso-freaking-lutely.
Bro, when they start talking
and then he
about,
says
like,
the next comment, I'm like,
yeah.
oh, you crazy, bro.
Right. Like the pictures of like spaceship looking things and people looking there in spacesuits and stuff, on the ancient
The hieroglyphics
wall.
and all that.
Yeah, bro. It's like, man.
It's funny, we were in Nevada a few weeks ago, and we went to the desert, and there's an area, it's called the Valley of Fire, and there's actual hieroglyphics in the caves, and you can go check them out. And, we went, and that's what kind of made me go down this possibility when I first started thinking about having this conversation with you, particularly if we ever going to be, because again, it's off our topic, but it really got me thinking, like, who put this shit here?
Right.
Because some of the things, they're not like, I don't say not human, but they almost look like it's just something that wouldn't make sense in my thought of history. Like, it's like, that wouldn't fit here.
And the whole argument, man, was like, if we arrived in ancient Egypt in a hover jet, we would be gods,
And there was.
Right. but they would describe that as like a flying chariot or because they equate it to things. So that's what's so, like,
believable.
yeah, man, when you start watching Ancient Alien things, like, dude, were we really visited by aliens back then? But then they start talking, like you said, the next 4 statements out of their mouth, like, oh, this dude's cuckoo.
Yeah.
Like, edit that out, man, so we can get
But
back
still,
to our...
but how do you still and again, I know the whole thing about having miracles, or ancient things that can't be explained. There's still so many things about our ancient times that I'm looking at it going, how the hell they do that? Like, we can't do that today.
Right.
Like the pyramids.
Well, I have my own kind of theory on pyramid building, man. Like, because I sat there and I'm like, man, how would I build a pyramid back then? And I look around and I'm like, with all the sand they have, if I put a base level of blocks, now they had hundreds of thousands of slaves and methods of moving these blocks, but if I put a base level of blocks, and then on the outside of that, I built the sand up around it. Then I put the next base level of blocks. I'm never going over ground level, right? I keep mounding the sand up, sloping it down. I can build as high as I want, so it's possible. Like, I think you and I, with 100,000 people that we can make work, 18 hours a day for fear of us killing them, could probably get a pyramid built.
But it's
even
more
with using their...
I get that, and I mean, yeah, it's a grateful. I mean, there's plenty of ideas of how they did it, and like you said, the way they moved stones and built it, and that could be plenty of possibilities. But I mean, sheer physics, they could,
right.
Like you said,
It's
with
possible.
a lot of people, they could have actually done it. To me, it's more the symmetry, the geometric way that they align with things that kind of make me go, what the hell? Like, and it's even the Mayans and it's not just
it's too much to be luck.
It's exactly
right.
You don't just line things up with stars and moons and things like that. It just doesn't happen. Just coincidental. This aligns with this, and when they even start breaking the global maps down, and they're going, this is an exact,
on the parallel line,
you pin things out, and they didn't have that technology then, and
or the structures that these big, huge, massive things they build with the intent of it being viewed from the sky.
Yeah,
like that's
why,
right? That's incredible, man.
Why?
Now, it can be argued that they think their gods are looking down on them, so they want their gods to see those images, but it doesn't take the impressiveness away from it. Like,
no,
that's pretty impressive.
It's insane. It's in the magnitude of these things that these people built, and when the only thing that really mattered was survival, the amount of time.
Well, I mean, it also didn't have cell phones.
But I'm just saying, like, but they literally had to find food every day.
Right.
They had to like survival was you weren't
Number
worried about
one,
going
right.
to work.
Right.
You
Your
worried
work
about
was
waking up, eating, and
right,
going,
right.
Going to sleep without dying.
Right.
And just the foresight that they took to, it just impresses the hell out of me. It really does. And it's like when evolution happened, it's, in our human evolution, not bringing up any other rabbit holes we're going down, but when just human evolution from then till now, it's depressing when I think about the work ethic and the mindset of how that's changed in people.
Well, modern conveniences has done that.
Definitely.
I
I know why it's not. It's just
Right.
I'm saying it's just depressing to look at it and go.
but we're
"Man."
making different strides.
Oh.
That are I'm sure 1,000 years from now, people will be looking back on what we did and like, man, that was pretty impressive with the limited amount of things. That they did.
Very good point.
Very
good point. Yeah, it's technology, it just in general, but it's weird how it blew up, and that's what just kind of makes
Right.
me think. It kind of ties back in the whole alien space theories that our technology just went. In the 150 years of modern, America or modern civilization, that we had 120 years of still chipping at the stone to make a wheel, to in the last 50 years just boom. It just
Right.
went from, and I was like, why?
I don't know.
Because we got some new technology. Because we got somebody
But
that,
a
hey,
lot
what
of
the hell is it? I'm just.
But I would say yes if the government released those things. But you have like Bill Gates in his garage,
Yeah.
So those people.
What if they're aliens?
Ooh,
What if Gates and Bezos and
it might be.
Elon Musk are.
Well, what's his face? Tesla. Nikolai Tesla, not the car. Tesla claimed till the day he died that he communicated with extraterrestrials, I
didn't know that.
Yes, he actually claimed that, and there's pictures of him sitting like in this, and I forget what the cage is called. It's some kind of cage thing where the electricity is dissipated.
It's like a Jacob's ladder situation.
Something like but there's a name like a. I'm not even going to guess, but there's a name for the cage that he sits in. And you'll see him sitting in there just like in his rocking chair with his electricity going off all around. But he would sit there and he said he would be able to communicate with extraterrestrials. And that's where he got a lot of his knowledge from. Like he was actually able, and the government shut him down, he was actually able to transmit electrical currents through the ground, to the next thing. But he claims that he was so close to the path of like free universal electricity, like he was right on the cusp of it, and he was basically shut down for monetary reasons, which is freaking ridiculous. But but yeah, him. There was another guy. Oh God, dog. He was out. Now this guy was a little kookier than Tesla. He was an Area 51 nut, kind of, and I say nut, but you know what I mean. Like he was, he wasn't taken as
a little different than the
right, and I don't think he was taken as seriously in the mainstream science world as Tesla was taken. But he had a deal he was inventing before he passed, that they say could have possibly slowed down aging, like increased human lifespan. Used electricity, but he claimed he spoke to aliens too, and that's where he got that stuff from. But they say his design, it wasn't complete because he died while he was doing it, but the principles behind his design are actually feasible. It's crazy the things that these guys did, but they all claim that they got visions from aliens.
It's crazy. I didn't know that. I didn't know that about Nikola Tesla. I know he's definitely probably one of the most underrated inventors or brainiacs in that era, because
Right.
he was so different,
He had some weird theories, though, man. He said something along the lines like, "When we understand 3 and 9, we'll break the code," or something. Like he was a
there's a lot of people. Guy. There's a lot of things that especially in Elon Musk, and there's another guy, Eric Weinstein. I don't know if you.
Yeah, I've heard of him.
They have some really. Eric Weinstein has a thing called the theory of everything. And he talked about what you're talking about in the dimension side of it, right? And he said this came out not that long. He just put this out publicly not that long ago, and he says it's his life work, but he's always been scared to publish it because of the backlash and the criticism, and so he's actually put it out there, and the world can view it, and he's got models and diagrams, and it's some crazy shit. Like it's like going. And he put it out there for critics, and he's like, okay, now, like,
tear it up,
right? Tell me what you think. And so far, because I've kind of been staying in a loop with it, everything that they have tore down, he's rebutted, and he's like, okay, but now this is why of this, and like, okay, like there's no rebuttal to the rebuttal.
Wow.
Like, it's
what's the premise behind his theory?
Theory of everything.
But what is that?
Why everything exists. Why things are what they are, and it's broken down to molecular and I can't. You have to look it up and read it because I am not even remotely smart enough to explain it to you. But he breaks it down enough into a water wiggle.
A what?
A water wiggle. You know, like the it's a little balloon with water, like squishy kind of thing, but it has like the water, the gel in it, like the little balloon.
Okay, right.
Water wiggle. You can buy them on Amazon, buy a water wiggle on Amazon, and follow his diagram. And in the way he tells you to move a water wiggle is the way that time and space travel in the dimensions, because a water wiggle is not the dimensions of a water wiggle, because it's not just three-dimensional. Right, because it's dimensions inside the water as it expands and contracts and moves. And
right.
Like it's like what, But he's put this theory in front of all of these.
I heard. I don't remember who was talking about it, but I watched a video on. It might have been who's the real smart black guy?
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yes.
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
I think it was him. That was talking about, we were talking about dimensions, and he's like, if you take like an ant and you put them on a table, that they're operating in one dimension space, but then you put like a bookshelf on that, that becomes different, or if you touch the ant, you're coming from three-dimensional, but if all of that were on another desktop, like that would be, and he just goes off, and like he loses me like 5 desktops in, right?
Insane.
But it was, and he says it too, that when you're getting past like 4th and 5th dimension, the human brain can't even conceive. No. Like your thought power is not even high enough to even conceive what a fifth dimension would even be. Like it's crazy, and they say that you couldn't see it because you operate in 3rd dimension, like your eyes wouldn't even let you see a 5th dimension or something. It's something crazy like that. Like it's insane to think about, man.
So how did they think about it? How did they get there?
Theory. Like, it's thought theory, right? But what's crazy, man? Like Einstein, his theory of relativity, right? That time is relevant.
So this plays Einstein's theory of relativity.
So basically, for those who aren't familiar, Einstein's theory of relativity is the faster or the closer you get to the speed of light, time becomes relevant to that object. So like in essence, it slows down the faster you get to the speed of light, to where he thinks that if you travel at the speed of light, time actually doesn't exist for you. And Einstein used the explanation, like if you took 2 identical twins and you took one and flew him around in space at the speed of light for 20 years, and he came back to Earth, his twin would be 20 years older, he would still be the same age as whenever he left. Some scientists
You just blew half our audience's mind.
Well, they actually took. I think that the fastest jets we have that are capable of circumventing the Earth, travel like 3 or 4 times the speed of sound, or something crazy like that. Well, they actually took these two stopwatches that were could go to like the ultra millisecond or something. Like I don't even know how far. Like it was 0.00000, you know, and it kept time at that precise of a measurement. Well, they took one stopwatch and kept it at their where they were doing this study, and they took the other stopwatch and put it in a jet, and they flew that jet around the world 3 or 4 times or whatever. And when they brought it back, the stopwatch that was in the jet was slower, bro. Like by like milligazilliseconds or whatever, but it was slower. Like they basically proved Einstein's theory correct. Like it's freaking nuts, bro.
It's insane.
Yeah.
And that's what floors me when people think that things in science and they say, I don't believe it for whatever. And it's like, when you have the scientific community behind something or move something, and it's...
But most of those people, the science that they don't believe is the science that's controversial, right? It's a science that really can't be proven too much, and half the scientific communities on each side of it. So them not believing this side of it, there's still science behind what they believe. So it's not like they're going against the science. They're going against the science that whoever they're talking to might choose to accept, right? And I'll use global warming as
But global warming's not a 50-50 thing in a scientific community.
It kind of is.
It's not
man.
at all.
There's tons of scientists that don't agree with the way that they categorize global warming. Because the climate's been changing since the beginning of time.
That's my point, and that's what I'm saying. So the argument on global warming that bothers me is when they say the science doesn't back it. That's a crock. The science backs global warming. What the science necessarily doesn't support or back is that it's human caused.
Right.
So stop that argument.
Right.
Global warming is a hoax. Global warming is real as shit. It happens. Well, it's the cycle of this earth.
2 things. They shouldn't call it global warming.
I agree.
Climate change. But yeah, 2, I think it's very naive of us to think that as humans that we impact on such a high level that we're changing global climate. Because we don't. But now pollution's real, and I don't think you should pollute. I think people should do their part to not pollute.
But you got to admit that if no humans were on this earth, the levels of CO2, the destruction of soil, the deforestation of plants.
Deforestation, yes. O2 levels. My problem is this: one volcanic eruption is equivalent to like 30 years of man-made CO2.
I'm not talking.
Like it's like ridiculous.
You got to look, because one of the biggest things, and I hate that we're going here, but we're going.
We'll go back. Because there's some time travel stuff that blew my mind. I want to talk about. I mean, if you want to get your point out, we can get it.
No, good. I'm good. It's not. I mean, it's not. It's a long point.
I was watching a guy talk about time travel, and we had brought it up with Einstein's thing, and one of the things that really blew my mind, and just the difference in the way that I think when we say time travel versus the way a scientist thinks with time travel, but when he started talking about the almost impossibility of time travel because it's so complex. You also have to take into account, he said, the Earth, where it's at right now in the universe, is not the same place where it was in the universe 100 years ago, or 1,000,000 years ago, or 10,000 years ago. That our solar system travels through space as a whole as well. So if you were just able to go back 100 years into the past, and you don't calculate for the movement of the solar system through the universe, you end up in the middle of space 100 years ago, right? And I'm like, Jesus Christ, like who even thinks of that? But so just
how do they verify that?
Because the universe is constantly moving and expanding. Like it's true.
There's no doubt. They know that space is ever expanding, and that it's infinite in its
So one thing faster than the speed of light.
It's the growth of the universe.
The growth of the universe, right?
But I wonder Well, I guess they can now because, again, the sun doesn't. Well, I guess the sun does move
All of it
if
moves.
it moves.
Yeah, all of it moves. The whole galaxy moves through the universe. But I mean, think about that, because it's true, man. Like, if we're all moving, and you went back 150 years, you know,
You'd have to know whether
you'd have to calculate how fast the Earth is moving through the universe and where the Earth was in the universe 150 years ago.
Yeah, that's
Right.
That's
I
pretty.
can see it in your face. I
Yeah.
made the same face, like,
Yeah.
holy crap, dude. Like,
Yeah, I've never heard that before. I mean, but it makes sense because
Right.
again, if we're ever expanding, you can't stay still. You know.
So
But
you
if
have-
we're moving forward, what's coming behind us?
No, I don't know. Right. No clue. But it's nuts, man, like, to think about that, bro. Like,
And that's why NASA is so important. And again, it's I guess the argument is how much do you invest in that?
right.
You know, because it's
Well, I think that if the need's there, then the increase in funding is there, right? Like, if we saw a true need, like everybody came together and said, okay, we're to a point where population growth and climate change and
but once the
alien
need's there,
invasion
it's too
and-
late to start a.
What I'm getting at is, if you had enough credible people saying, look, we got 100 years, and then it's over with, you start seeing a whole lot more money.
See, that goes
Yeah,
back to
getting
my argument
thrown.
with the climate change. Is that you're always going to have a percentage of people that say, "Well, I think we got 250, not 100,"
Right.
because that's a scientific argument that everybody says that
But I'll argue this, man. If we can colonize Mars,
we can't.
but I'm just saying, let's say right now we had the capability of colonizing Mars.
We can't breathe on Mars.
I know. Just follow me down this rabbit hole for a second, right? You don't have to come down it. Just watch me drop down a rabbit hole and yell at me from the top. If, you know, if we were able to colonize Mars right now, and the biggest issue with Earth was climate change and us not being able to grow food and being too cold or being too hot or being too... If we can colonize Mars, why can't we colonize Earth? Right? We can still build those geo bubbles here.
Oh,
You know?
again, I'm not saying we should have a plan B. I'm not saying we shouldn't explore it.
Right.
But the whole conversation for me to colonize Mars is asinine. It is absolutely crazy to sit here and say that in 50, Elon Musk is saying within 30 years, he can have people living on Mars. And I'm going,
Well, then show me on the moon first.
man.
Right? That's my whole thing. Show me on the moon.
Like-
man. Show me, go in the middle of a desert and build a facility and show me that they can live there for you.
Oh, they've done that. They've done that in Nevada. They've done that all through, you know, they have places like you know, saying outside of those areas that they have geodomes built and have tested that, you know, like the movie back in the biodome with
Right,
Pauly
right,
Shore.
right.
They have those facilities for that exact reason, and they've kind of started them with movie productions. That's where a lot of the Mars movies are filmed and stuff like that. So I mean, that's been done.
But it's
and-
sustainable. Like, can they sustain there?
Sure, it is until something tragic happens.
Right, right.
You know, until there's a storm that they can't see, or what, you know, something like that blows shit up, or you know, an oxygen explosion within the geodome,
Right.
shit like that. Like, and you can't.
It's not like you could run out.
They're 5 years away from parts. They're
Right,
5 years
right.
away from anything getting to them. So
And Murphy's Law is going to exist on Mars.
no matter
Absolutely.
Murphy's law is Murphy's law. It's going to exist
Right,
anywhere in
right.
this universe. You
Right.
know, like
That's
if it
what,
can
that's why I
happen.
said, show me on the moon first, man. Because you're not 5 years away from the moon. You know?
No, I
Show me the
don't
moon
disagree
first.
with that. I think that's also a waste of time too. I think it's a waste of money to think that. I'm not saying we could never colonize it, but our technology right now, I think, is so far away from saying.
But does that want to colonize Mars push the need for technology, which advances us even farther?
Well, that's why I'm saying we still need to
people.
explore it. Like, I'm good with the rovers being up there. I'm good with them flying drones on Mars. I'm good with them taking
Right.
soil samples. I'm good with all that. But the whole conversation and to start budgeting money, you know, for the potential to colonize, and like you said, I just think we can't breathe there.
Right.
So, well, and like I like that, phenomenal. You can't. You barely made oxygen for, an ounce of oxygen out that atmosphere.
Right.
You're not going to make enough.
Go there and make the air breathable first.
Exactly. Because the whole thing of everybody living in a bubble, and like you said, I'm in the same boat as you. Then we just do that here.
Right.
And you're not flying people 5 years away.
Right, on a one-way trip.
Yeah. And it's like, nah, I'm good. Like, I just don't think that's great ambition, great foresight. Let's see. I'm all about exploring our space, but I'm also all about exploring our oceans. That we know more about space than we know about our oceans.
Right.
And we only know 1% of space. That's
right.
Scary.
It is.
That we don't know what's, here. So, to have this full circle, I enjoy watching the things with, the outer space travel and the I love the science behind it and the potential and the possibilities that they come about. But I think, like I look at everything in life, you got to put things in context. You have to look at things and say, okay, like that's good, but let's pump the brakes. Kind of like what we did in the late 80s, early 90s. It was like, okay, like we've spent a ton of monies in the 50s, 60s, 70s to explore certain things. We don't necessarily have the need or want.
We don't have the flying saucers here like they did in the 50s and 60s to push.
What you mean? We do. Fucking on video.
Well, now, so we probably are.
This is in early 2000s.
I know. What I'm saying is, back then they had all them flying saucer things, man. It might have been a push to get that money to NASA. Might be the same thing we're doing now, man. Let's release some videos so we get some money to NASA, man.
But again, these videos are from early 2000s.
I know. I'm just joking.
I get the argument and I get the the conspiracy things behind it. Going, well, they're trying to push for space exploration and trying to push. My thing is the same argument with them going back to Mars. I mean, going back to the moon. That they're doing that 2024, 2025. It's a new thing NASA's just pushing. And I'm like, selfishly, I'm like, yeah, do it, because I also think it's a uniter for our country.
Right.
It is like the whole.
I don't know if it's as big now as it was, when we, the first man on the moon.
I think it could be for these next generation kids.
But there was a huge race between us.
Put a TikToker on that bitch.
Well, yeah.
I'm dead serious. Find a TikToker or a YouTuber like they did for what it was, Columbia, or the sorry, I shouldn't have brought that. That's the one that exploded. But they had teachers and they had
the Challenger mission.
The Challenger, right. Yes. Put somebody on it. Say so, hey man, you want to go to the moon? Got to go through this training program with these people. You ain't doing shit. You're sitting in a chair. You're not doing nothing.
Let them hype it up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Put it on YouTube. Put it on TikTok.
Yeah,
put your videos of your training, dude. Yeah. Pump that shit up. I promise you, you're gonna have so many astronauts.
That would be huge, bro.
It would be ridiculous.
Right. And it would probably get some extra fun.
They'd be creating dances and fucking songs, and they'd be fucking TikToking the moon and shit.
The moonwalk would come back, right?
That's on video. I just did that stupid shit. It's gonna be on video.
Hot, dude.
Stupid. I forget that camera's there sometimes. This is so not my comfort zone and element, but hey
man,
I'm trying. But no, I'm dead serious. You want something nowadays, you have to do what kids are doing today.
Right.
You gotta put these out to say, hey, look, because I had the Challenger photo on my wall that my mom got me, and it was. I was a kid.
right.
But it was like I still looked at it and was like, I always thought about it. Mm-hmm. And then when they were doing launches and the last SpaceX launch that would happen was like one of the largest, most viewed and most streamed things of that year. I think people are still interested in it, and it'll bring us back together. Like there's so many divisive things that are going on in this world right now. Something as crazy as going back to the moon, may reunite folks and say, hey, it doesn't. We still got one mission. We still got to live together. We still got to be here together. We still got to come together and make this happen. I watch a video every day. It stays. I don't know why it's always in my feed, and it's a clip from a Joe Rogan podcast, and I get it, and I don't remember who the guest was because I've never watched the episode. I just constantly see this clip, and he says, "I don't want another 9/11, but I want another 9/12."
Yeah, that guy. It's a 9/12 organization,
and it's like,
right.
Man, like it's true. I remember that day. I mean, we're always going to remember that day, but.
You actually called me. I don't know if you remember that.
The unity.
But my part of my 9/11 memory, you're in it because I don't know if you remember this, but I was at my mom's. I think it was. It had been right around. I think the time was what 01?
It was 01.
01. I was at my mom's house for whatever reason. You called me and said, "Hey man, turn the TV on." I said, "What channel?" And you told me it doesn't matter. Just turn the TV on. And I turned it on, and it was right around the time the second plane was hitting the tower. I was like, "Holy shit, man, what's going on?" And you actually explained to me.
I do not remember that.
Yeah. Yep.
That's crazy. But again, that 9/12 day, man, that was a day, whether it was military support, whether it was just looking at your neighbor.
Right.
Now I know if you're in the, Muslim community, you might have had a different feeling of 9/12
sure.
because today people looked at them a little differently,
right.
which sucks. Kind of the same, Asian hate that's going around. I think it's a
whole other topic, bro.
Yeah, but it's just that same thing. Like, hey, man, like let's come together, and you get a diverse group of people going on a space shuttle with some TikTokers or YouTuber. Get Jake Paul. Jake Paul. I promise you, Jake Paul's going to the moon, baby. Him and Dogecoin going to the moon.
That's how they're gonna pay for it.
Yep. Sell all his Doge. Doge is gonna freaking rock it. He's gonna sell his shit. Go to the moon. But man, I really do think that's something that.
It's sad because sports used to do that for us, man.
Poof.
That breaks my heart so much, man. That sports got political, bro. Because that used to be. It didn't matter where you were from, what color you were, what religion you were. Everybody rooting for the Saints or the Pelicans or whatever. And then they got to go and get political, bro. Like I don't like politics in my sports, man. I just want to watch my sports and root with my boys But sports used to do that for us, man. They really did, dude. They
but political
were a unifier.
Yeah, I know.
I hate that they went political. I do.
I know, and that's a whole nother argument and topic because it's the same. If you got a platform, you need to use it. And I know there's arguments of how you can use that platform, but I agree with you. I wish that because Michael Jordan.
Oh, but my wife and I were talking about
beloved by everybody,
right.
And then you look, and I know we're going off where we're talking about the Mars, but then you
That's
look at
all right, bro.
I think
our audience is used to us being all over the place sometimes.
You look at where LeBron's at this week, and
it's
like
speaking of that, he would probably be a great candidate to go to Mars. Like
I don't know if I want to hear where you're going with
this.
Like
we give him a TikTok, put him with the space, and he's first athlete on Mars.
That's not gonna happen.
That'd be a great great
to the moon.
To the moon. No, not Mars.
Yeah, but I mean, it is. I understand what you're saying, and it is kind of saddening to see that sports don't unify us like they used to. But we got to find something, man. We got to find something that's.
I think sports can bounce back, man. They just got to get all the political BS out of it, and I hate to say it, but stay in their lane, because I would love to come here on Sunday, and turn the podcast on and watch a Saints game together, just so people can get all three of us hanging out, watching a ball game. I miss my sports.
I never stop, so.
Well, I mean, I get that, but
I love them regardless.
But I did.
Because what they do doesn't affect me. I'm not gonna.
That's a whole other rabbit
I know.
hole, bro.
I don't know. I still enjoy them, and nobody's, if I enjoy something else that somebody doesn't do, like we talked about in the last little clip that we put up.
I still watch high school sports and stuff, so.
Yeah. Because, I see that got a little political too sometimes at some spots and some areas.
Yeah, it does, but it's a way less degree.
Yeah. Well, absolutely, because like some things, that some people, it's another topic that we'll talk about one day. I was talking about my son last night that we'll talk about that, like. Some people think that, these high schoolers, have abundance of rights. And it's like, you have rights as a human.
Right.
But you're still a child.
Yeah.
But that's not a position that a lot of people take these days. These
Right.
kids run shit.
Yeah, not in my house.
You know, I mean publicly, like in schools and in look, I'm coaching, you know,
Right.
youth sports, and they're telling me what I can't do, and I'm like, what? Time out. What?
Right.
Who you? You know, I had a little girl in basketball a couple years to pull me aside, and I was correcting my daughter. And I mean, she was a player, but I was talking to her like she was a player. She wasn't my daughter. She was my player. And I got a little loud. I mean, I'm a loud person. You know, I'm like, hey, you gotta. This little girl comes up to me. She tugs in my shirt. She says, "You can't talk to her that way."
Yeah.
Like, where's your mama?
Yeah. Why don't you go sit with your mama?
Because we need to have a conversation. You know, but I'm not gonna go down that rabbit hole. But look, to finish up what we're talking about on the space travel, if you're interested in these topics that we talked about. Check out some of the sources we said. I'm going to look back into to the Tesla conversation and see. It kind of sparked my interest back on that because, I said, I've listened to some things on him, but it's interesting. And check out that Eric Weinstein.
Absolutely.
He's got some really cool shit, and he's about as down to earth as you can get. Now he's running Thane Capital, which is a private equity company that invests in crazy. So I mean, he's not. He's a mathematician by trade.
Right.
And then does all these economic things now and runs $1 billion corporation for Thane Capital, which Thane Capital is named after the original guy that started PayPal and Facebook. And Thane was one of the first, Theo, one of the first investors in Facebook. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. So, billionaire guys, and they run private equity through other companies, 4 other companies, venture capitalists and stuff like that. But if you're interested in these things we talked about, guys, check them out. Do a little research, throw us some feedback.
Go find our group that we have on
It's
Facebook.
a private group right now, so you have to be invited by a member.
Can they search though?
Yes, they can search it.
Can they request it?
I don't know. I'd have to check on that.
We need to check on that because I'd like them to be able to request. Because that'd be a great place for us to get engaged in these conversations.
This is the point of my initial point of the group that Coty and I talked about. Coty Simmons created a group, and I was hesitant in the group, so I was like, let's do it, because I don't want the group to be overrun by the people in the group. Right? It's still a platform for open discussion, not random vomit. And I don't have the time, like a lot of these other groups, to moderate everything that's posted.
Right. Of course not.
So I want it to be private. So ideally, if you go to our Facebook page and you follow and like our Facebook page, I will send you an invite. I have invited, not everybody because Facebook limits the people that you can invite on a daily basis, but all of us can go to our Facebook page through Not So I Divide Facebook page and invite everybody that's on the Facebook page, which right now is only, I think, 400.
Right.
But you can also go to community. If you go to your Facebook page, you can go to community and invite all of your friends to our Facebook page with one click. So it just makes it easy. You go to community, go to our Facebook page, hit invite all. It sends all of your friends an invite to a Not So Wide Facebook page. So, and once you're on that Facebook page and we see that you have followed our page, we'll go ahead and invite you to the group to where it's a little bit more open discussion. People are, I don't know why, but a little bit more open in that group. I mean,
they can actually post.
They can post stuff on our Facebook page.
Not on our first one though.
Yeah,
right?
they can still post. It has to be approved to post, but they can still post it.
Right.
So, but I guess with the group, it's a private group. So what you do post, nobody sees it but the people in the group. But yeah, guys, check it out. We still need your support. We still need your love. So keep sharing this. Again, we're going to be on YouTube soon. Time is killing us on that, but I'm trying to put some clips together just to kind of give a little teasers, and hopefully we'll have full episodes up. And subscribe to that, share that, because once we get 1,000 subscribers, it'll be much easier to go live. And when we go live, that's going to be some really cool shit. We'll be able to interact with everybody, and we have a new studio coming soon, hopefully in a couple weeks, so that's going to be some fun stuff too. But keep listening, guys. Keep sharing. Keep subscribing. Remember, the divide is not so wide.
Peace.